Hello and welcome back. When you outgrow your old life. See, there's a moment in many people's life, especially in midlife, that is difficult to explain. Nothing is necessarily wrong, but your life might look stable from the outside, but inside, something feels different. You start noticing things that no longer fit, conversations that may drain you, roles that feel too small, expectations that feel heavy, and you find yourself thinking something you may never have allowed before. Is this really the life I want to keep living? Not because you're ungrateful, but because you have changed. And when you change, sometimes the life built by the old version of you no longer fits the person you're becoming. That's what we're talking about here today. What happens when you outgrow your old life? Growth changes your lens, and it sure does. Personal growth is not just about healing, it changes how you see. You start noticing patterns you once accepted. You begin questioning things that once felt normal. You become more aware of where you overgive, where you stay quiet, where you live according to expectations instead of truth. And this awareness can feel unsettling because once you see clearly, you can't go back to pretending. There's a powerful quote here I want to share with you. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. That moment often arrives quietly in midlife. You simply realize something in you is ready to grow. The quiet grief of outgrowing. No one really talks about this part enough. Outgrowing your old life can bring grief, not because your past was all bad, but because parts of it are ending. You may outgrow certain friendships, familiar roles, environments that once felt comfortable, ways of thinking that kept you safe, perhaps. And letting go of what is familiar can feel lonely, even if you know it's necessary. See, growth often asks us to release what once defined us. That takes courage. Sometimes we are not grieving the people or situations themselves. We are grieving the version of ourselves that once belonged there. Midlife is a turning point. In early years, we often build our lives around survival and responsibility. We become who we need to be, the strong one, the dependable one, the one who carries everything. But midlife invites a deeper question. Who am I now that I can choose? You start realizing you don't want to live on autopilot anymore. You want meaning. You want honesty. You want a life that reflects who you've become, not who you had to be. And that realization can feel both exciting and unsettling because it means change. The fear of disrupting what exists. See, many individuals stay in lives they've outgrown because they fear the ripple effect of change. What if others don't understand? What if people feel disappointed? What if it creates tension in relationship? These fears are real. But there is another question worth asking. What happens if you ignore the quiet truth inside you? Over time, that voice doesn't disappear, guys. It grows louder. And eventually, it asks for honesty. There's a beautiful line by Joseph Campbell that speaks directly to this moment. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. See, growth often requires stepping into uncertainty, but that uncertainty is often where your next chapter begins. Outgrowing is not failure. See, sometimes individuals feel guilty when they outgrow parts of their lives. They think, I should be satisfied, I shouldn't want more, I should just be grateful. But growth is not betrayal. Evolution is not selfish. You are allowed to expand. You are allowed to change your priorities. You are allowed to create a life that feels aligned with who you are today, not the version of you from 10 or 20 years ago. So, here's a few questions to ask yourself. If you feel like you are outgrowing parts of your life, it may help to sit with a few honest questions. Where in my life do I feel energized? And where do I feel drained? What roles am I in continuing out of habit rather than truth? What would I choose if I trusted myself completely? What part of me is asking to grow right now? See, sometimes clarity does not come from forcing answers. It just comes from giving yourself permission to ask just better questions. So, the reframe. So, if you feel restless, if things that once felt normal now feel heavy, if you sense that something inside you is asking for more, you may not be lost at all. You may just simply be evolving. Outgrowing your old life is not a crisis, it's a signal that the individual you are becoming needs space to live differently. So, if you feel like you're outgrowing parts of your life, I want you to remember something. Growth is not a mistake, change is not failure. And the quiet voice inside you that says, there has to be more than this, is not something to silence, it's something to listen to. Because every meaningful life transformation begins the same way, with a moment of truth, a moment where you stop ignoring what you feel, a moment when you stop shrinking to fit a life that no longer fits you, and you begin becoming the person you are meant to be. If this message spoke to you, share it with a person who might also be standing at the crossroads. And if you are ready for deeper conversations about identity, purpose, maybe clarity, and creating a life that truly reflects who you are becoming, make sure you subscribe. Book a call with me. I do offer one free session. Because sometimes the next chapter of your life doesn't begin with a dramatic change. Sometimes it just begins with one quiet decision, the decision to finally live in alignment with who you are now. Now, these questions, you can definitely pause the video and write them down. Take 30 seconds, minute or more, and answer them if this is something you're working on. Till next time, I truly hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.